My mother hosted a black tie dinner and served chocolate soufflé to everyone, except my 7-year-old son. She humiliated him in front of her rich friends, saying he was too messy for her expensive rug because of a tiny stain on his shirt. She thought I was just a struggling artist who couldn't do anything about it. She had no idea that I secretly run a multi-million-dollar company. I had come to dinner with a $50,000 cashier's check in my purse to pay off her mortgage and save her from foreclosure. But after watching her starve my son to protect a carpet, I pulled out the check, showed her the money she desperately needed, and then ripped it into confetti right in front of her face. The chocolate soufflé looked like a masterpiece. It was my mother's 60th birthday, and she had insisted on a black tie-only dinner at her house. She hired a private chef, rented gold-rimmed china, and invited her entire social circle. I sat at the end of the long table with my 7-year-old son, Noah. We were the obligatory invites. My older sister, Jessica, sat at the head of the table near Mum. Jessica was a lawyer married to a surgeon. They had 2 daughters, the perfect twins, who were currently wearing matching silk dresses. I was the struggling artist. Or at least, that's what my mother told her friends. In reality, I owned a thriving interior design firm in the city. I just didn't flash my money. I drove a Volvo, not a Porsche. I wore comfortable clothes, not Gucci. My mother assumed I was barely scraping by, and I never corrected her because I wanted to be loved for me, not my bank account. That tonight was supposed to be different. My parents had been hinting for months that they were drowning in a balloon payment for their mortgage. They were at risk of losing the house because they lived way beyond their means to impress their neighbors. In my purse, I had a cashier's check for $50,000. It was a gift. I was going to hand it to them privately after dessert to pay off the bank and save their home. I wanted to be the good daughter. "Dessert is served," the chef announced. Servers placed plates of steaming molten chocolate soufflé in front of everyone. They placed one in front of Mom, Dad, Jessica, her husband, and the twins. Then the server got to Noah. He held a plate, ready to set it down. "No," my mother said sharply, raising her hand. "Not him." The table went quiet. "Excuse me?" I asked, looking at Mom. "Why not him?" "Look at his shirt, Elena," Mom said, pointing a manicured finger at Noah. I looked. Noah had a tiny, dime-sized spot of spaghetti sauce on his white collar from dinner. He was 7. "He's messy," Mom declared, her voice loud enough for the guests to hear. "This is Belgian chocolate. It stains, and I just had these carpets steam cleaned. I am not having him drip chocolate everywhere. He can have an apple from the kitchen if he's still hungry." "Mom," I said, my voice trembling with disbelief. "You're giving everyone soufflé except my son, because of a spot on his shirt. The twins have crumbs all over their laps." "The twins are using napkins properly," Jessica chimed in with a smirk. "Noah's just ... unrefined." "Mom is right. It's too risky for the rug." "It's just dessert," I argued. "He's a child. He's been looking forward to the volcano cake all night." Noah looked down at his empty placemat. "It's okay, Mommy," he whispered, his lip quivering. "I'm not hungry." My heart broke. It wasn't about the rug. It never was. It was because Noah looked like his father, my ex-husband, a mechanic my mother hated. She saw my son as lesser than the twins. "He eats the apple or he eats nothing," Mom said dismissively, turning back to her friends. "Now, Jessica, tell us about your trip to the Maldives." I touched my purse. I felt the sharp edge of the check through the leather. I looked at my mother, laughing and drinking wine, completely unbothered by the fact that she had just humiliated her grandson over a rug. "Okay," I said calmly. "Noah, let's go." "Sit down, Elena," Mum hissed, her face flushing pink as the other guests stopped eating to watch us. "You are making a scene. Do not embarrass me in front of the senator's wife." I ignored her. I helped Noah down from his chair. We aren't making a scene, Mom. We're leaving. I'm taking my son to get ice cream. Somewhere he's actually welcome. You're being ridiculous, Jessica laughed, swirling her wine. It's just a rug. God, you always have to play the victim. Is this your way of getting out of giving Mom a gift? We know things are tight for you. My father finally spoke up. He looked tired. The stress of the looming foreclosure was etched into his face, though he tried to hide it with a fake smile. Elena, please, Dad said. Just sit down. We can wrap the soufflé for him to take home. Don't ruin the night. We. We really needed tonight to go well. I knew why. They were networking. They were hoping one of these rich friends would bail them out or offer Dad a consulting gig to save the house. I looked at Noah. He was holding my hand tightly, looking at the floor, ashamed of a stain that wasn't even his fault. I'm not ruining the night, Dad, I said. You did that when you decided a carpet was worth more than your grandson's feelings. I picked up my purse. The clasp clicked loudly in the silence. Fine, go, Mum snapped. But don't expect an invite for Christmas. And don't think I don't know why you're running away. You didn't bring a gift, did you? You came here to eat my expensive food and mooch. Just like always. That was the breaking point. I stopped. I turned back to the table. Actually, I said, my voice steady and cold, I did bring a gift. I heard you and Dad whispering last week about the balloon payment on the mortgage. I heard you say the bank was giving you until the end of the month. Mom went pale. Lower your voice, she hissed. I wanted to help, I continued, unzipping the side pocket of my bag. I saved up. I had a good quarter at my firm. I wanted to surprise you. I pulled out the envelope. I didn't hand it to her. I opened it and pulled out the cashier's check. I held it up so they could see. The bold black numbers were unmistakable. $50,000.00. $50,000, I said clearly. Paid to the order of Linda and Robert Davis. It was for the house, Mom. It was to save you. The silence in the room was deafening. My sister's jaw dropped. The senator's wife adjusted her glasses to get a better look. My mother stared at the check. Her eyes bulged. The cruelty vanished from her face, replaced by a sudden desperate greed. She stood up, knocking her chair back. Elena ... double quotes, she breathed, her voice shaking. You have $50,000? I own a design firm, Mom, I said. I don't just paint walls, I build corporate offices. I make more in a month than Jessica makes in a year. Jessica turned red. That's a lie, you drive a Volvo. Because it's safe for my son, I snapped. Not because I'm broke. My father stood up too. He looked at the check like it was a lifeline to a drowning man. Elena, honey, Dad said, his voice cracking. That is incredibly generous. We didn't know. Please, let's talk about this. Sit down. Noah can have my soufflé. He can have the whole bowl. He can eat it on the rug. Mom added frantically, reaching out a hand toward the check. I don't care. It was a joke, Elena. Just a silly joke. Give me the check, baby. We can pay the bank on Monday. I looked at the check. Then I looked at my mother's outstretched hand, the same hand that had waved my son away moments ago, like he was garbage. A joke? I repeated. You humiliated him for a joke. We're family. Mom pleaded, tears of desperation welling up. We're losing the house, Elena. We need that money. I looked at Noah. Do you want her soufflé, buddy? Noah shook his head, looking scared of them. No, Mommy. I just want to go. I looked back at my mother. He doesn't want it, I said. I slowly folded the check in half, then in half again. Elena, what are you doing? Mom shrieked. Don't! You refused to feed my son because you were worried about a stain, I said. Well, I'm worried about my money. I wouldn't want it to stain your reputation of being self-sufficient. I ripped the check down the middle. The sound of the tearing paper was louder than a gunshot in the silent dining room. I ripped the pieces again and again, until the cashier's check, $50,000 of hard-earned money, was nothing but confetti. I let the pieces flutter down onto the pristine white tablecloth, landing right next to my mother's untouched soufflé. No! Mom screamed, actually lunging across the table to grab the scraps. She tried to piece them together with trembling hands. You crazy B*TCH. What did you do? You destroyed it. Robert, call the bank. Tell them it was an accident. It wasn't an accident, I said coldly. And you can't tape a cashier's check back together once the void watermark is ripped. It's gone, Mom. The money is back in my account. My father collapsed into his chair, burying his face in his hands. He knew. He knew the house was gone. How could you? Jessica shouted, standing up to defend them, though I noticed she kept glancing nervously at the expensive watch on her wrist, probably wondering if I knew how much her debt was too. You let them lose their home over a dessert. You are evil. I didn't let them lose anything, I said. They lost it themselves. They spent 30 years buying things to impress people they don't even like, instead of building a relationship with their own daughter. And tonight? Tonight proved that even when they are drowning, their pride is more important than my son. I looked at the senator's wife, Mrs. Albright, who was watching the scene with a look of pure fascination. Mrs. Albright, I said politely, my mother invited you here hoping you'd introduce Dad to your husband for a job. But honestly, would you trust a man with your finances who can't even manage his own mortgage? Mrs. Albright cleared her throat and stood up. I think we'll be going. Thank you for the entertainment, Linda. No, wait, Mom cried, chasing after her. It's a misunderstanding. Elena is mentally unstable. But the guests were already moving. The spell was broken. The illusion of the perfect family was shattered on the floor, along with the paper scraps. I took Noah's hand. Come on, baby. We walked out the front door. I didn't look back at my mother sobbing over the confetti. I didn't look back at my father's defeat. We got into my Volvo. I drove us to the best ice cream parlor in the city. I bought Noah a massive sundae with extra fudge, sprinkles, and a cherry on top. He got chocolate on his shirt. He got it on his face. I wiped it off with a smile. Mommy, Noah asked between spoonfuls, are Grandma and Grandpa going to be okay? They're going to be exactly where they deserve to be, I said. The fallout happened fast. Without my check, the bank foreclosed on the house 3 weeks later. They were evicted. It was the talk of the town. All those friends they tried to impress. They ghosted them the moment the moving sale sign went up on the lawn. Jessica didn't help them, she couldn't. It turned out she and her husband were leveraged to the hilt too, leasing their cars and renting their lifestyle. My parents had to move into a small 2-bedroom apartment in a bad neighborhood. Dad got a job as a greeter at a hardware store. Mom had to sell her jewelry. A month later, I got a text from Mom. Elena, please, we have no furniture. The apartment is cold. We are eating on the floor. Can you spare $500? Just for a table? We are sorry. We miss Noah. I looked at the text. I looked at my son, who was happily drawing in his sketchbook in our warm, cozy living room. I thought about the check. I thought about the rug. I typed back, I can't send cash, but I have a spare folding table in the garage. It has a paint stain on it though. I wouldn't want it to ruin your aesthetic. You can pick it up at the curb on trash day. I blocked her number. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But honestly, It tastes a lot like ice cream. If you think Elena was right to rip up that $50,000 check, smash that like button. And here is a question for you. If your parents humiliated your child, would you cut them off financially even if they were losing their home? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of justice served.